Do you know your loved one's love language? Over 20 years ago now, Gary Chapman wrote a best-selling book that's still popular called The 5 Love Languages. You may have heard of it, you may have taken the test, and I want to talk to you today about those love languages and some of the nuances that you need to be aware of as well. So let's look at the 5 love languages, and they're in no particular order. Words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Now let me go back and talk about each one a little bit more. Words of affirmation. Some people know that they look pretty, or they're smart, or they did a good job, and they don't need you to hear that. They don't need to hear that from you. But other people are dying to hear it. They're dying for you to acknowledge something that they did that was wonderful, or something about who they are. I remember when I worked with my dad for 30 years in a commercial real estate business, I would produce these big, voluminous, detailed appraisal reports, and he would review them for me before they went off to the client. And a few times he would read, and he would get his little red pencil and he'd look at it, and at the end he'd put it back on my desk with a little yellow sticky note that said, "Excellent job, Rosie." And it would just warm my heart. Now, I already knew I did a good job because I had worked really hard and been very thorough, but I felt loved when my dad acknowledged that with his words of love. So it doesn't need to be spoken. Written is good as well. So words of affirmation are important to a lot of people. If you are holding back your words of affirmation, it's usually because there's a problem in the relationship. So one of the things I want to talk about these 5 love languages is they're not a quick fix to deeper issues, but let's keep going with the love languages. Acts of service. This is a wonderful thing to do for people, carry their purse, open their door, do the dishes, bring them their coffee. Some people feel very loved by those small acts of service. If you're the person who feels loved, you're probably going to marry somebody, or it's likely that you'll be in a relationship with somebody who could give a rip about acts of service. So you're wanting acts of service and you're giving acts of service, but you're not getting acts of service. So this is another thing to do a little deep dive into the 5 love languages and understand that the other is not you. And this is about being sensitive to how the other person needs to feel loved. The next one is the giving of gifts. Now, the person obviously feels loved because you thought about them, you planned ahead, you made the effort to go get something or make something that would please them. And this makes them feel loved. But not all people are excited about getting gifts. The next one is quality time. Sitting on the sofa, watching a movie together, taking a walk together, just being quiet or being alone or having a good conversation, or simply just reading a book together in the same room. A lot of people feel that if they're valuable and they're lovable, that you will spend time with them, maybe just even doing nothing. They don't want the acts of service. They don't want the gifts. They just want you to be with them and be present to them. And the last one is physical touch. Hugs, kisses, pats, squeezing the little cheek and all that. There are a lot of people who want to physically connect. There are other people who don't like physical connection until they feel safe and have moved into the relationship, and we know that. And I'm one of those people that's very affectionate physically, but I had to learn the hard way that other people don't want that from me to feel loved. There are other things that they want, and they actually felt maybe a little violated and imposed upon when I would move in to give them a hug. So again, this is not a quick fix, but it's a really good way to begin to be aware of how other people want to be loved. Over the years, as I've used this in my life, I have noticed some nuances that I want you to be aware of. Number one, the 5 love languages and all the other relationship skills that we learn are not quick fixes to deeper problems. All of us are carrying some form of past trauma and emotional issues that we're struggling with or that we've repressed, and this always comes out in relationship. While these things like the 5 love languages are helpful, They're not the quick fix, and let's not use them for a band-aid for deeper issues. If you think you need help, go get some wise counsel. Number 2, these can be an exercise in scorekeeping. You know, when people are arguing, or even in their mind, they're not real happy with the relationship, they could be say, well, I did this and this and this, and I did this and this and this, and they're like making themselves look fabulous, but it's not what the other person wanted. So we have to be careful about having this be a list of performances that we do to get the results we want in the relationship. Number 3, the love languages can actually change over time and with circumstances. I remember when I was a kid, I loved presents. I loved Christmas. I loved birthday. I even loved the wrapping the presents came in. It was just something delightful and sparkly and physical that I could touch and have, and I just loved it. I felt loved and wonderful when I got presents. But the older I got and the more able I was to buy all the things that I thought I wanted, I no longer needed presents to feel loved. I wanted something different. I wanted some quality time, or maybe some acts of service, or some physical and some non-sexual physical touch to feel loved. So they can change over time. And even again, now that I'm even older and I am more at peace with myself and in my relationships, and I don't need gifts, I actually kind of delight in them again, like I did when I was little. So it's a very fluid concept, the 5 love languages, and remember that. The other thing is I've been a strong lover of the temperaments, the 4 classic temperaments, and I know CatholicMatch has a lot of information on there. I've written books about it. I teach it. It has improved every one of my relationships. And I've tried to marry the 4 temperaments with the 5 love languages, and it doesn't work. But there's something to be said about understanding a person's temperament, and the deepest emotional needs they have there isn't necessarily the same as the 5 love languages. So I'm going to talk more about temperaments in future programs. But for now, just remember that there are 2 things I want you to take home about the 5 love languages. Number 1, it's very good in helping you to remember that the other is not you. That the other is unique and unrepeatable. And if you really love that person, you will find out what they need and what they want. That is always good in every relationship. Number 2, spend some time exploring beyond the 5 love languages. Spend some time exploring beyond the 5 love languages and find out what the other person needs to feel seen and safe and soothed and sweet and sure of your love for them, sure of your support for them. These are the basic needs of every human person. And if you can do that, you will be at peace, you will find love, you will have hope for the future, and life will be good. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, and know that CatholicMatch has lots more content on the 5 love languages and other wonderful relationship skills on their website, CatholicMatch.com. It was a pleasure to talk to you about the 5 love languages, and I will see you next time.